Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's so exciting to be here in person with all of you. Technology has turned into a source of competitive advantage. I think you'd all agree with that. When we think about how do you scale a business, how do you cut costs and get more productive, how do you work with urgency, how do you really get your business to scale globally, I think this is what technology can do for you. It really is a source of competitive advantage. We got inflation, we got interest rate issues, we got geopolitics, we got supply chain challenges, we got cybersecurity challenges. I think we could all agree one answer to all of these challenges is technology. As we think about all the technologies, I think there's two that come to mind that can really help transform and bring a lot of value: hybrid cloud and artificial intelligence. In order to take advantage of these transformative technologies, you do have to adopt them. You got to move with speed. Is hybrid cloud an architecture? Is it going to be the predominant architecture? I would tell you that when we do our surveys, for 77% of the businesses, hybrid cloud is the architecture that they prefer. I think it has gone over the last 4 years from being a choice to being the predominant architecture choice for our clients. We want to bring an architecture that works for you on this. The platform choice that IBM has made is Red Hat. And the Red Hat OpenShift platform, which supports containers built on open source, gives you that flexibility to deploy across the hybrid cloud landscape. Runs on public clouds, runs on private clouds, runs on premise, runs across your infrastructure choices. So as we go forward, you then get the choices. Build once, deploy anywhere. That means your skills, the skills that you work so hard to build, can work across those environments and are not siloed into only one place. You put those two things together, and that's why we assert that a hybrid cloud choice gives you 2.5 times more value than picking a singular answer from one of those underlying landscape choices. The other transformative technology is artificial intelligence. AI is the other technology that's driving significant business value today. Always, I start with what are people doing? When we look at it from 2017 to early 2023, the rate of adoption of artificial intelligence has doubled. When it has doubled, that's telling you there's a lot of momentum, there's a lot of value, and that's what we want. I think that this moment is one of those rare moments where you can point to, and the next 10 years will tell us, there was an inflection point, and it's a massive moment of technological advancement. That's at least a significant message I'd like you to think about, that AI is going to unlock much for your businesses. AI is expected to unlock 16 trillion worth of productivity. AI is going to be one of those tools that is going to be massive in helping you unlock all of that you need for your business. So then if you say, how do I get hold of that productivity gain? If it is that big and the inflection point is now, how do you go about doing that? A significant amount of that productivity comes from unlocking every enterprise process you have. Is it going to be in human resources? Is it going to be in pricing? Is it going to be on the supply chain? Is it going to be on all the processes that each of you use to run your business? And that is where AI is going to go unlock. But that means this is enterprise AI, not necessarily consumer AI. And both are going to be important. But for enterprise AI, you need a number of aspects to get comfort that you can go ahead and deploy it. How do you make it more accurate? You can't really afford to have it give you incorrect answers. How do you make it scalable, that not just one or two, but you can go ahead and deploy hundreds, if not thousands of models and make sure that they are accurate and they don't drift? How do you make sure that there is governance around it, that you can point to, this was the data that we used to train it. There is no drift. It has not got biases built into it, because as we know, AI learns from data. So if there's biases in the underlying data, it will faithfully replicate it unless you do something to make sure you're correcting. So the whole question becomes about deploying AI at scale. And how do you go ahead and deploy AI at scale? And that is what we want to do. I talked earlier about enterprise processes, and people don't often talk about these, but all of you know how much cost is buried inside these. The first one I'll talk about is IT operations. And when we think about IT operations, it's both the development side and the operations side. Can we help software engineers write code better? How do you go about getting 40, 60, 70, 80% productivity? That's not going to decrease the number of engineers. What it will do is dramatically increase the agility and the speed that's there in the business. In the IT industry, you can debate whether it's 30, but I think the reality is closer to 70% of people are really spent on operations and maintenance, maintaining what's there. If you can cut that down to 30, that means you can double the innovation that you bring to your business, and this is a big piece of how that'll happen. A second one is around customer care. Many of us have to have customer care centers where we are answering queries from clients. You can imagine governments answering questions around pension and benefits. You can imagine insurers answering questions about policies and claims. You can imagine any retailer taking queries from their customers and what's there. A lot of this can be automated. 94% of the volume can get handled by these. Cyber, one of the sites that we help protect got 50 million attacks over a weekend. All right, now that is significant. If you don't use artificial intelligence, there is no chance that your team of cyber analysts can scale to go address those issues. So how do you do the triage? These are common, these you don't need to worry about. These, and so cyber is another really important area. And the last one I'll mention is digital labor. You could say that the first three are examples of that, but when we think about answering questions around how do you promote somebody, can you answer questions around how do you move somebody from one department to another? You worry about onboarding people. You worry about looking up a procurement order. You look up purchase orders. As you think about those digital labor, it means that enterprises can scale leveraging technology, in this case artificial intelligence, and it's really, really important to think about how do you begin to then customize that for your environment, because many of these are unique to an enterprise. They're common at a base level, but then all of you have your own way of doing these things. We're also going to be working with partners to deploy AI much more widely. An example of that is the work we did with SAP. So SAP has embedded IBM AI, Watson, into their cloud offerings, so it becomes a natural language interface on how do you get launched. And as you think about that, that means you can forget having to learn all of the unique language that you otherwise do. And it's not unique to SAP. Most enterprise applications do have the unique language. So can you launch using natural language? Can you look up things, whether it's around travel, whether it's around procurement, whether it's around a customer? You can look up those things. So what does it get you? It means that people become much more productive. They don't have to go through all of that training. It means the speed to deployment increases because you don't have to understand all of the unique language. And you get many more people who can then interact with these really important systems to give the enterprise more productivity, other than the individual also getting a lot more productive, and gives a sense of the immense possibilities that artificial intelligence can bring to the enterprise. I think that's an impressive set of technologies as we look at both hybrid cloud and artificial intelligence. But there's a lot more yet to come. And one of my favorites is quantum computing. And when you think about quantum computing, a lot of people begin to say, okay, that's science fiction. No, it's not. Quantum computing is very much here and very real. To give you a sense, IBM has over 20 actual quantum computers, not simulators, not in software, not faked on something else, real quantum computers that run on our cloud and are accessible to anybody who wants to go play with them. We have a quantum computer with over 400 qubits. Qubits is sort of the measure for quantum bits as opposed to regular bits. And with this, we can begin to work on problems. You know, problems that may impact all of us: battery technology for EVs and electrification, maybe food supply because of fertilizers, maybe traffic routing. Really important problems that I think will go impact the world. By early next year, I fully expect we'll have something around 1,000 qubits that is going to get deployed. When is it really going to solve a problem that really gets the world and takes it by storm? Sometime this decade. I don't think in the latter part. I think in the earlier part of this decade. So we're giving ourselves a range of 7, then I said it's earlier part, so you can chop it. So somewhere in the next 3 to 5 years, I do expect that we are going to begin to see massive advantages. Now, often when you put these together, so cloud and artificial intelligence, I think we can say that they fed each other. And we can see the enormous advantage that has been made. And AI without cloud would have gone a lot slower. You now couple cloud, artificial intelligence, and quantum, and we are going to see an incredible inflection point. So that is one prediction I will make for you, and you will all see that in this decade. Without an atlas, it's really tough to go on a journey. So this is IBM's Technology Atlas. We look at some of the most important technologies, and we begin to lay out what our roadmap is. With that, you begin to get more precision early in. So we are pretty precise about what's going to happen. You know, on quantum, for example, somewhere in this decade, maybe encryption needs to be changed to make sure that bad actors can't use quantum to break encryption. But as you go further out, you get into larger and larger systems which are going to do things. Ditto in artificial intelligence. When will you really get autonomous systems that can do things with no human supervision? I would tell you that we're not really there except for really simple use cases. But I expect in the next 3, 5, 7 years, we're going to go get there. When can artificial intelligence systems reason? Because today, they're wonderful memorizers. They're great at pattern recognition. But the mixture of reasoning, I do believe, as symbolic systems make their way in, there is going to be a whole new wave yet. But those are 5, 7 years out and gives you a sense of what's so exciting and why when people talk about has technology been advancing, not going to advance, I think we're going to see an explosion of innovation in the next decade. Now let's just focus in on artificial intelligence. A lot of attention recently on AI. And if you think about it, at one level you can call it an evolution, but when things move to become 100 times better, I think it's more like a revolution than an evolution. AI went from machine learning. I would put that into the 2000 to 2010 timeframe. Incredibly useful, built into lots of things. We all are going to use machine learning, whether we realize it or not. The previous 10 years was about this era of deep learning. Deep learning is also incredibly useful. But deep learning is where people got into what's the cost of AI? How do I label my data? How do I get a team to go train it? And at the end of it, you get into that it's an important outcome, but when you want to do another task, to use the AI jargon, you need to sort of restart. You need to again start with labeled data. You need to bring a team in. You go construct another model, and there you go about it. So great advantages, but you probably only apply to problems where there is a significant return on your investment to go do it. So that, I would say, limits the use cases. The advance right now with large language models and generative AI is that you can now do hundreds, if not thousands of tasks based on an underlying foundation model. That is a significant advantage. So you get a foundation model, now you can get 100 or multiple hundreds or 1,000 tasks that can be done over a weekend based on that one foundation model. That gives you incredible time to value. That's what I'm calling the 100x. We've been working hard on this. So the question is, how do we bring it to you, bring foundation models and what it can do? So let me introduce for you WatsonX.
To scale and accelerate AI, WatsonX. WatsonX.ai for new foundation models, generative AI, and machine learning. WatsonX.data, a fast, flexible, and open next-generation data store. and WatsonX.governance to enable AI workflows that are responsible, transparent, and explainable. WatsonX. Let's put AI to work.
So WatsonX is a brand new platform built on our last 3+ years of incredibly hard work by our researchers and developers, bringing it to life for all of you. This is a groundbreaking platform for data and AI that will be inclusive of machine learning, deep learning, and foundation models, and allow you all to take advantage of what generative AI can do for your businesses. It's built on Red Hat OpenShift, which means you can now inherit the properties of deploying it anywhere you want. And what enterprises need accurate results, they need trusted data, they need scalability, and WatsonX will bring it to life for all of you. The 3 components, very quickly. The WatsonX.ai, a brand new studio that lets you train your model, fine-tune your model, deploy your model, and really be able to do all of that with much more productivity than you've been able to do. WatsonX.data, it's a lake house, to use that word. It's a place where you can put all of your data, structured, unstructured, semi-structured, multimodal, so you can put it all in one place and recursively use AI techniques inside to help automate many of those tasks that you all struggle with in your data environment. And WatsonX.governance, so you have an idea, what data did I use to train my model? What is its lineage? What is my bias? Is the model drifting? And all of those governance aspects around AI now get captured into one place. They all work together to really give you what you need in order to deploy AI with responsibility. I'm going to invite up on stage Katie Piccarelli, Director of Product Marketing for Red Hat Ansible, to show you what WatsonX with the code assistant is all about.
We all know that writing code and learning new code can be both time-consuming and complex for developers. But what if we could make that easier to learn and accelerate the process? With the help of AI, we could save vast amounts of time by generating millions of lines of code. And for us, working on Red Hat Ansible, it helps us address the IT automation skills gap that we see in the marketplace. Watson Code Assistant combined with a source code editor like Visual Studio Code, that creates this experience, giving the ability to build automation code and not switch between different tools or look up information somewhere else. And today, we're going to show you what this looks like. For this demo, let's use an example of creating a new user. What we're building here is an Ansible playbook, which is made up of multiple tasks. And we're going to use a natural language prompt in the task name. And for this example, generate random password. It's easy as pressing Enter and Tab, and Watson Code Assistant will provide that code recommendation. And from here, the developer just needs to fill in those unique variables to configure the new user. Watson Code Assistant employs a purpose-built WatsonX foundation model for code to predict and suggest what the developer might need. As more developers use this tool, its knowledge and capabilities will grow, benefiting everyone.
Enterprises have a lot of their own way of doing things. Can this take advantage of the repositories that an enterprise might have?
It absolutely can, and I'm really glad you brought that up. Watson Code Assistant was built for that in mind. When we apply each client's unique private data, and in this case, Ansible playbooks, modules, and collections with the foundation model, Watson Code Assistant can improve the accuracy of the recommendations. The result is a private custom AI model for their team's specific needs. I'm going to show you how this might work with an example. Let's use a private data set comprised of hundreds or even thousands of playbooks and modules specific to a client. And in this case, we're going to use the IBM CIO team. This is where Watson Code Assistant steps in to customize the model with private data on top of the pre-trained foundation model. You can load your data from various sources. And in this example, we're going to use a set of URLs linked to their GitHub repo. And once we've pulled our data set in, we can then process it. Once this data is processed in Watson Code Assistant, it creates a report about what the data looks like and how that data is distributed. Here, we can see that the additional modules and collections that we brought in were from that IBM CIO data. So now let's tune it and get our customized model ready for the IBM CIO team. As you can see here, the customized model improves the prediction accuracy significantly for those enterprise-specific tasks. Now let's deploy the model and retry it to build our tasks with the new playbook. When we rerun this playbook with the same tasks, you can see that the recommendations from the customized model now use specific modules and other configurations from the IBM CIO's private data set. This gives those teams the ability to scale best practices through code recommendations. We have a unique feature that we've provided to developers, and that's the ability to content match the recommended code to the sources of training and data wherever applicable. This makes a major difference when trusting the results. Finally, Arvin, I know that you love data, and I do too. In a pilot, Watson Code Assistant, which is in preview, helped the IBM CIO teams who were ramping up with Ansible Automation Platform to generate about 60% of their correct code. This is the value that Watson Code Assistant can bring to our enterprise CIO teams to address the skills gaps and the efficiencies needed to accelerate the time to value.
Let's keep the conversation on artificial intelligence going. I'm going to bring up a client to discuss the massive implications and productivity boosts that AI can generate. It's my great pleasure to invite to stage Mark Sabino, the Chief Auditor and Head of Innovation for Audit at Citi. Mark has been instrumental in Citi's internal audit transformation, leveraging the power of AI and predictive analytics. How has the integration of artificial intelligence and predictive analytics improved these processes? And if you could maybe have a couple of metrics or key indicators you used to know that the process has improved.
Sure. It was very critical. In order to transform, in order to get people to think about adoption and utilization, we know we're going to get efficiencies, right, out of what we do in the platforms and the power of the data and the power of the analytics. But we really have talked about the journey being more or less about technology, more about innovative, and more about how the power of what we're doing augments what an individual can do. So it's merely about more of that augmentation. So some of the things that my team also manages is that we have a help desk that supports our technology platform, the rollout of the Open Pages platform. And that help desk, what we've seen is by integrating the chatbot, another form of artificial intelligence, the chatbot is always learning. The chatbot has actually reduced the number of questions that go to our help desk by about 60%. So if you think about that productivity gain, what that's allowed our help desk now to do is move to the next level of service inquiry that's coming in. Or it's freeing up our technology team, which often had to step in and answer some of those questions. So that dynamic interaction with the chatbot to be able to help the individual auditor deal with their day-to-day has certainly improved the efficiencies and has helped our help desk.
So how did you ensure that your end users, who were the auditors, were ready and embraced the platform with all of these capabilities?
Sure. The way we did some of that is really dealing with the change management in a very different way. We didn't create user guides, right? That's kind of an old way of doing things. So one of the things that we really moved towards is video content, right? To really make sure they understand how to use the platform. The other thing that we did is we navigated the globe, right? And I was able to go out and visit all the teams and really do these sessions where we could inform them on how to use the platform in a very different way.
So Mark, final question. Any predictions for the financial industry and how they're going to use AI in the near term?
Yeah, I think some of the things that you talked about even today, and then we just saw, even things about when you think about quantum, we're going to have to be ready for some of the things that quantum can do, which is phenomenal, but we'll have to think about, can it start to break the encryptions that are out there? So how do we think about being ready from that from a cyber perspective? Even the things that you talked about just now with the launch of WatsonX, right? This would be fantastic if we could look at ways that we can standardize code, or look at the way the code is written, or connect the network. If you think about the number of developers that we have within Citi, how do we connect that network to make sure that they're operating in a most optimized and quality way? How do you think about using a large language model to connect your controls to your internal policies and to your regulations? And last but not least, we're even playing in the metaverse, right? Because what we're doing in the metaverse is banking will eventually potentially go there, right? And how do our clients deal with that? How would we as auditors test what's going on in the metaverse if we don't understand it?
Great story of how AI improved your audit process, productivity, help desk, controls, all in all, making actually a much better audit process for Citi. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thanks, Arvind.
We really appreciate your answers.
Thank you.
Hybrid cloud and AI go hand in hand to help transform business. One major company that fully embraced hybrid cloud to transform their airline is Delta Airlines. No stranger to innovation, Delta is a leader in the airline industry, and their digital transformation has been focused on both enhanced operational efficiency, but also for an enhanced customer experience. Please join me in welcoming Rahul Samant, Executive Vice President and CIO at Delta Airlines. Technology is indeed a source of competitive advantage for Delta Airlines. So with that in mind, Rahul, how did you identify the need for a hybrid cloud approach, and what were some of the key factors that led to that decision?
Yeah, so as you might imagine, in 2 years we'll be a 100-year-old company, so we have a very diverse technology landscape. We obviously use a lot of assets in the public clouds. We use a lot of SaaS applications. We have a huge distributed environment that is on-prem and partially moving to the cloud. I'll talk about that a little bit more. And then we have huge investments and significantly critical workloads on the IBM mainframes. And those are in two different components. So yeah, I started on the mainframe, so that will always be a soft spot for me. So we have our two core engines, which are the passenger servicing engine and the ops engine on ZTPF. And then we've got our entire loyalty database and application, as well as our technology operations unit, which does maintenance, and then a big ERP footprint on the MVS side. So a huge mainframe footprint as well. So really that predisposed us to a hybrid environment. And before you actually acquired Red Hat, we were a key customer. We chose Red Hat as our platform as a service, OpenShift, and we started implementing that in our private cloud. And that started in 2018. Fast forward, we were getting great results from that. We were seeing the speed of implementation. We were seeing ease of maintenance, scalability, portability, all of those things that go with a PaaS, and very pleased with the relationship. Something called COVID hit our industry in 2020. Really put us in a bad way. And kudos to Ed again for having the foresight and the fortitude to launch one of our most transformative and ambitious programs, which was to move all of our distributed workloads to the public cloud. And we chose IBM as our global strategic partner to help with that. We codenamed the program Zulu. Zulu is now about 45% of the workloads moved, about 30% of our people. And again, we chose ROSA, which is Red Hat OpenShift on AWS, as the container platform. And it's given us great benefits. Again, what we saw in the private cloud on-prem, we are now seeing in the public cloud through the Zulu program. And if you've flown us recently, it's hard to miss the free Wi-Fi that is very much out there. And thank you. We've got about 600 planes now flying all over the United States that are equipped with fast, free streaming Wi-Fi. That entire chassis, the entire user experience is built with your help on the cloud in a native way on Rosa.
So that's a great example. Any other example around how this has helped either your efficiency or your customer experience?
Yeah, and again, being a people-centric culture, we knew that simply moving 600 plus workloads to the cloud wasn't going to deliver that speed of execution, the speed of change, or the developer productivity. So we coined this sort of work stream with you called Zulu for our people, which was not leaving behind any of our IT teammates. And so we've got a few thousand teammates that are now going through an entire learning journey. So every one of them has a persona, and they have a learning map that takes them from where they are today to where they need to be. And we're about 30% activated, so 45% on workloads, 30% on the people catching up. And that combination is extremely powerful. All of our data now has moved to the public cloud, and so our machine learning models for optimizing, for predicting maintenance, for automating a lot of our workflows are being done in the cloud. And so a great example of what you said this morning around the power of hybrid. I don't think any large enterprise of our size and of our vintage is ever going to go one way in its entirety. And so I think we're a great proof point of what you said.
Has the business recognized some of these values and now they're collaborating better with you on these topics? I remember 6 months ago, we had that conversation.
Yeah, 6 months ago, Arvind's talking about a meeting with Arvind and my boss, our CEO, and he was happy about the progress we were making on Zulu, and he was looking for more of the business leaders to start talking versus me being the only voice or the only mouthpiece of how great my program was. And fortunately, over the last 6-8 months, that has started to happen where I've receded to the background, which is terrific because my peers are now starting to talk about how the data's moved, how these models, you remember around Christmas time, one of our competitors didn't fare so well. We came out, I had to do that.
No names.
I didn't name names, and we came out, looking really good, and that was the power of the cloud. That was the fact that our data sat in the cloud. We had access to immense scalability, and we're able to run hundreds of iterations a day on crew, on rescheduling, customers. All of that happened, right, during that intense time. What's coming in the next 60 days is an entire experience that personalizes your journey and opens up a whole ecosystem of partners, and all you need to get into that ecosystem is access through your SkyMiles and your password. It's wonderful because we continue to run the program with you. Great partnership, again, with both IBM and the Red Hat division. And I'm stepping back because my peers are doing all the talking.
I think a true story of the transformation technology can drive and improve the business. And so final question, Rahul, any last quick words on the next steps for Delta in this digital journey?
Yeah, I think, the Zulu doesn't by itself add value. We had to couple the people. We had to move, thousands of people, get them reskilled, reorganize them into these, full stack, agile squads, create an army of product managers inside our businesses that were capable of partnering with IT. And now it feels like all of that put together with the immense partnership is creating a launching pad and a foundation for us to drive the other big transformation that's going on in the company, which is the digitalization of the company. I think we've got a solid foundation, and the next 18 months will be done with Zulu, and then we really take off.
Great story, Rahul. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. I think you made a huge amount of progress.
Absolutely.
And I look forward to working with you on the next steps around foundation models. Look, I've had a few decades of experience in technology. I'll completely acknowledge that. And like some of the others, Mark talked about 30 years at Citi. I've had that here. But I've never been more excited about what technology can do for all of you than I am today. I think this mixture of hybrid cloud and artificial intelligence, more to come from quantum as we go down this decade, is going to really bring up game-changing possibilities for all of you. You heard 3 great stories from Codey, from Mark, from Rahul about what's possible. We want to work with you to bring all of this to life. Thank you for your trust in IBM. Let's benefit together from our time here as much as we can. Thank you.